Okay, yeah, results. So for Okomu Oil, something interesting happened. The revenue of since for the analysis we have covered so far. So it was only in Okomu Oil that so far though, because we are not done, they are pretty big. So we make our time. You are not rushing. The market is always there. There is even entry time. So we make our time to analyze them one by one. So far it is the only company that their revenue has dropped so far that we have seen. So for this earnings season, the revenue dropped by 3.5%. People were shouting, what's going on? Are people no longer buying oil? What's going on? Should we be on our heels and stuff like that? Then the profit after tax also dropped minus negative 16.4% on year. Then if you look at the CCA result, because that's why it's called H1. H1 means January half year, January to June performance. It looks deteriorating, but one thing people we are missing is that there is in this headline H1 there is two quarters, Q1 and Q2, and when Q1 came out, Q1 was a pretty nice number, but it was this Q2 that was rubbing off or dragging in on the performance of Q1. So if you stretch it out, it looks so bad, but if you segment it, it looks so it's not as bad as it is, because we are getting to before we find the situation where you are using only one quarter results to trading fees were on the high side, and there was a called listings came in, business on the on the rise, people we are buying as soon as then if you are not careful, you think that that is the way it is, always is. So let's dive in and see what happened. So, like we always, if you are watching for the very first time, welcome to our first invest. So you look at the Okomo Oil. This is the three things. Look at how we break down our analysis here on X to make it easy for you to read and run along with it. Unless you need something more premium, you can check the pin message. If not with this, you can run along with it and add to your analysis if you know what you're doing and get it there. Not just we dive deep. We do so. The first thing is the price charts, income statement. We get these things and screen it out by ourselves, clean it all, strip it out, and give you the real stuff. Then cash flow. This is the four. Then we divide the analysis into four segments. The headline first. Then this is what happened. You can now look at what happened, what we found out, evidence to back up our findings, and finally what to watch going forward. So this is the way we segment this analysis so you can read up. But the ones we put up on YouTube here is we explain more. So that is why you blend the two, watch the video, read the analysis here, then I run along with it, come to your decision making standpoint. Then if you're finding it more difficult, then you can check our pin message and get what we have there. So let's go to the graphics and show you what has happened. After that, we now get to the fast behind the figure. So this is the price chart of Okomu Oil. When trading in this tracking transform started tracking it was in 2013. So they started tracking it. So you can see what price has been over the price stayed pretty flat within the range of 100-ish, and then even within COVID it was just flat at a time. Then it toppled up, dropped back, and since then it went up. It almost touched the high of 180 naira. Then there was a pullback, and price has pulled back to this level, currently trading at 1,418 naira. So you can see that's another tell you in the long run that the market goes up. So you can see from here sub 100 naira to here. So this is what the price looks like. So let's go to the income statement side of things and check it out to see what the income statement looks like. Hold on a sec. Okay. So remember to like, share, subscribe, and go to X like we say. Follow us on X, best underscore double underscore invest, because that is where you get there. There are some analysis we cover on X, but we didn't do the video on YouTube. So, but there is nothing you see on YouTube that has not been covered, and sometimes it's a week later when the team put it together, we start making these YouTube videos, YouTube videos with their editing. Our equity research desk finishes with the analysis. It's getting to you immediately. So that is why it's always important to tag along with us on X. So this is hold on. This is the income statement. So for the income statement, you see what revenue did. Revenue dropped. So revenue that used to be 129 billion now dropped to 125, so 3%. So you look at everything is flashing red. The top line flashing red. So this is why people started screening what we are going to explain. So there's no need to dive in. So all the margins, we are clawboard because of the poor performance, even the earnings too, EPS, everything. So just bear that in mind. We are coming, don't screen. Then this is the balance sheet side of things too. So if you look at balance sheet too, you see that the total assets is now sitting over 74.2 billion. It's increased though. Then inventory is piling on. Hold this one. Inventory. The inventory ballooned. See what they are holding in inventory. Close to 100%. 36 whopping billion. Bear that in mind. We are getting there. Hold that. Then you look at the equity side of things. Of course, equity grew. Then stuff like that. Then if you look at, so the business become more liquid. So from the liquid ratio side of things, it became more liquid. Return on equity, of course, dropped because of what happened with earnings. And return on assets too and equity dropped. Then let's now look at the free cash flow, if there is any. I guess there is. So for the free cash flow, it's also dropped in 25. H1 25, the free cash flow was 51.4 billion, so it's dropped, of course. So now 26.48 billion. So what happened? So you listening up? So first of all, you have to know that Okomu Oil, they sell into, their market is two local markets, predominantly Nigeria, and they do export. So the interesting thing that happened is that the export business grew. The export business grew over 42.98%. Good. But the local sales dropped by 11.7%. So the problem is that the bulk of the import, their local market makes up majority of their sales. So that export that it grew was not able to make up for the local sales that didn't meet up. So it's like when the local market is covering close to 88% of the revenue. So any small blip there, if it coughs, if the local market coughs, the export market is going to catch cold. So that's what happens. So number one, you have to know that sales dropped, and we are getting to the reason why the sales dropped. Then another thing that added gasoline to the fire was that the cost of production from the rubber side, but they have rubber business too and the palm business. So the cost of production, which was coming from the cost inflation side, is what we call input inflation. When getting stuffs like that going on, getting the raw material side of things and the direct production side of things, costs went up. For rubber, it went up close to 37.4%, while for palm business, it went up close to 18.1%. So that's added to, you didn't sell much and the cost went up, so it will eat on the revenue. Then there was no also data to show in this kind of agricultural business. We call such data agronomic. So agronomic data is a data that will show you, okay, since we are into palm, do we have a bad harvest? How many hectares of land did we cultivate? Was the weather so bad? Was there a plant spread of plant disease that affected what we are doing? There was no data on that. So the only sense we drew to adding one or two, this analysis comes in, is that since inventory grew, so they had pack of inventory over 100, close to 100%. And when we are trying to put the seasons together, there is what we call huddling. We don't know if it's an intentional huddling, because sometimes in palm oil business, some of these guys, they huddle, which is not the right language, but they huddle to sell off, intentionally creating an artificial, because palm oil business, if you know about it, is seasonal. There's a season of high demand, prices do go up. So we don't know if that is the game they want to play. So they have bulk of inventory. Sales dropped. So if you add the two, you can make a sense of what's now led to the revenue dropping. Then another thing to just add to the analysis is that some of the agricultural intervention scheme has been on for a while. So they have drawn down their own. The government grant from the CB and rolling out the agricultural thing. Then another thing to know is that the deferred tax, the tax liability they deferred has now jumped from 13.202 billion in January to now 17.05 billion. But it's still in 2020. That's the prior year. But it's interesting to note that it stayed flat for this H1. So the deferred tax liability was flat in this H1. And remember, there is a new tax regime in Nigeria. So fixing those things up, this is our analysis on Okomu Oil. So going forward, like we always say, come here, read this, watch word to word. So if you read it very well, you will see where we started the thesis with, that Okomu Oil H1 result reflects a fundamentally clean business with no exceptional income, no structural charge, no whatever. So you read it all. Like we say, check our pin message if you're looking for extra something that might show this entry level, pointing you to buy or whatever, a deeper research, whatever. If you are looking for something, you can always check out our pin message and also check other services we offer at our best index. So catch you on the next one. Comment, like, share, and subscribe. Peace. Whoa.